guys, so today I wanted to go through my A-level art sketchbooks. These are actually a couple of years old because I'm in my second year of university doing illustration. So this is my title page. It was inspired by a painting that I saw on Pinterest of a girl in a bookshop. I basically put in any sort of initial ideas I had into the books. As you can see, my theme is being human. And moving on to the next page, this is my mood board. It's kind of collaged, so there's coloured paper and some book paper in the background, and then obviously all my images. I slightly ripped the edges of each of them to sort of match the ripped paper in the background. And then here is my mind map. What I found really helpful was my teacher advised us to split our main theme into 3 sub-themes or areas of focus. So my main theme was being human, and I split it into human emotion, human anatomy and human experiences. I don't know how I would have started without splitting them into sub-themes, because obviously being human is quite a broad theme, and it is quite good to have a broad theme, but it can be difficult to get into and know what you actually want to do. I feel like these 3 sub-themes were really helpful to explore each one and decide which one I wanted to take further for the final piece. I basically really recommend doing this because, like I said, the teacher advised us to do this, separate them into 3 sub-themes, and then we explored each one for, I feel like, maybe 3 or 4 weeks each. This page is starting with human emotion, starting simple, doing different facial expressions. So for the areas of focus, our teacher wanted us to focus on one of the assessment objectives, which is experimentation. So I basically went through and used lots of different materials. Basically just really good to show the examiner what you can do, because even if, for example, you don't really like using just normal like graphite pencil, they don't know that you can actually do that. So if you want to get into painting or whatever you like, it is really good to show the examiner that you can do other things and you are open to experimentation. This is one of my research pages, focusing on emotion and colour and how colour is used to convey that emotion, even when there isn't a person to show that emotion. And this page is just some experimentation with watercolour. This page is more sort of warm and joyful based on my research. Warmer colours represent joy, like this little painting here. I really like how I use the watercolour in these. Just do I use the paintbrush to kind of block colours, and I started from the very lightest colour I'd use to the darkest. And then this is just moving on to the next sub-theme, which was anatomy. My teacher was really big on us getting observational photos and like our own photos. So we had this skeleton in the classroom, so I took some photos of that and did these pencil drawings of that. And then this is kind of random, to be honest. I think my teacher must have spoken about it and recommended us to do it if it related to our theme. It was a life drawing workshop. It was actually online. We joined this like Teams call, and they basically just played videos for us to do some life drawings. So these are with charcoal and oil pastels. So I have some images here that they showed, and yeah, these are my drawings. And then again some more research, and then some little paintings and things. So this is watercolour, this is ink, and then these are fine liner, there's some biro, some research into the history of how anatomy was, I guess, researched through drawing and art. And this is more research. Moving on to the next sub-theme, which was human experiences. I've got short-term experiences and long-term experiences, and yeah, I'm just talking about ones that I might look into. So short-term experiences as firsts, so like a baby's first steps. Over here I have long-term experiences like motherhood, childhood, growth. I've chosen a short-term experience, weddings. This is done with ink. This one is a long-term experience, so motherhood. This one's with watercolour, and these are obviously pencil. So yeah, just more, I guess, experimenting. And then here is a gallery visit. I went to Bristol Museum and Art Gallery. My teacher also talked a lot about us going to museums and art galleries and taking lots of photos. So that's what I did, and I also, all this writing is just a lot of research into the paintings I photographed. And then this is more focused on an exhibition that was there. There were some pieces that I thought were relevant to my project. I do think it's really good to look into exhibitions if you do ever go to any museums or art galleries, and just seeing if they are related to your project in any sort of way. Because when I went to Bristol, there was this exhibition and then there was another one which went really well with my graphics A-level. This is still based on like the stuff I did at the gallery. So I took this piece and basically did some experiments and stuff based on that. So this is some monoprinting. The next one is sort of same thing. So I've taken a piece of art and responded to it. And yeah, this is one of my favourite drawings that I did during my A-level. Okay, now moving on to artist research. So this is not really about the sub-themes anymore. That was kind of the first part of the coursework, and now moving on to artist research. So my first artist was Egon Schiele. I was really interested in how he draws figures and also his use of paint. This is all research, a lot about his life, but more focused on how it influenced his art. That is a really big thing with like writing and annotations. It isn't really necessary to write about certain things of their life. It's better to focus on their art and how certain things in their life might have influenced their art. And then this is all analysing this piece, which I used a book for. These are all done with just coloured pencil, I think. I really like this one and this one. This is mimicking how he would draw figures. I tried to really focus on angular shapes and the way he drew faces. And then these are some self-portraits, again inspired by the way he draws people. And then these are probably my favourite thing out of my whole coursework. I love these oil paintings and I really enjoyed making them. I really focused on keeping the oil paint thick and yeah, just focusing on texture, how I use the brushes, and also focusing on how I shaped the face. A reproduction of one of his paintings and then did my own response. This honestly doesn't look as much like his painting as I would have liked. I also tried to look for different colours in the face. In annotations about my own work, I basically talk about what I think is successful, what I think is possibly bad, how I could improve it, talking about the process of making it and how it might influence any sort of work at a later point. These are some watercolour portraits. Honestly, I'm not keen on this one, but I do really like how I use the colours here. This artist is Ellie Smallwood. I really like how she uses paint and her brush strokes. These are some of like her earlier pieces, but more recently her pieces are more like these. I really like her use of pattern and like implementing it sort of as tattoos. These are just some experiments focusing on facial features, kind of zooming in and how they could express emotion. I really like this painting, again probably one of my favourites from my coursework. I again just focused on mimicking the way that she uses paint. She kind of does quite big strokes. I use a big paintbrush, and yeah, her artwork is also very colourful, and I wanted to focus on how colour could express emotion. And then these are just more experiments. I found that she does these sort of watercolour kind of wet on wet technique, so I tried that. And then this is another museum visit, so this is in London, to the Victoria and Albert Museum. This obviously felt quite relevant, especially at the time with the Ellie Smallwood artist research. There were lots of different things in here, and again I think there were certain things that connected with my project in my graphics coursework. For this I wanted to do a painting on like fabric. So these are like paint samples, and yeah, I wanted to do it on a canvas. I was really inspired by this piece that she did, and yeah, so I took the statues from that visit and on my iPad put them over the canvases and the fabric to see what sort of compositions I liked. And then these were the final. This is the process of the painting and the final painting. The final painting is in a folder. I'm honestly not keen on it. I do think it is quite nice with the fabric behind. So this is my second book, and then this is my next artist I researched, Madeline Hutchinson. It's the way she kind of blocked out colours in her paintings. I also really liked her use of patterns, so here in the background, here in his shirt, and also throughout this whole landscape. And then this is inspired by her. I really like this. I feel like if the lips weren't outlined it would be a lot better, but yeah, I really like how I use the paint in this one particularly. But yeah, these three are kind of okay. I'm not keen on this one. I feel like it is just a bit of an awkward one. And these are some photos that I took of myself for a painting, as I wanted to kind of have a final painting like I had with the other artists. So I feel like I kind of like to obviously start off researching the artist, finding any sort of artwork that I feel really inspired by, and then doing some little experiments, resolving it with like a final piece kind of thing. So yeah, this is just thinking about what patterns I could do, because like I said, she has a lot of patterns in her work. And then again, here's the process, and then this is the final painting. I have the final painting here. I really like this painting. I feel like certain things about it could be better, but I really like the pattern background, how I use colour. The hand I'm not keen on. This is a final artist. I think we were recommended to do 3, but I wanted to do an extra one just because I found this artist. And I really like the way she uses coloured pencil, and I think I was also just feeling like all of my artists were really focused on sort of portraiture. I wanted to explore these sort of human experiences sub-theme. And then these are some colour pencil drawings inspired by her style. And yeah, I really like this one. And then this is a sketchbook review. So we were basically asked to pause and go through our sketchbook and point out any moments that we really like and decide what we want to move forward with. These watercolour paintings, I really liked the way I did this with the ink, this pencil drawing, these oil paintings, this painting, and then these ones here. Although this was mostly for the extended written element, this was really helpful to look back at my whole sketchbook and see what went really well and think about what I want to do coming up to the final piece. So this is moving on to the final piece. I decided that out of my sub-themes I was really interested in doing more of human emotion and human experiences. There's grief, there's some artists, and there's melancholy, how could emotion be represented? And then human experiences, I have some artists, as well as everyday mundane experiences, motherhood, nostalgia. This time I was really interested in nostalgia. So moving on, this is thinking about how I could actually do a final piece. I feel like at the time I was really unsure of how I wanted to make a final piece, so I spoke to my teacher and she gave me some ideas. So like a triptych, a concertina which has different sized pages. Then my teacher told me to look into this artist, Dawn Clements. Obviously you can research more artists at any point, because I feel like at this point when I was thinking about my final piece, I didn't really feel connected to the artists that I researched. Apart from Egon Schiele, I really liked how he used paint, but yeah, the other ones I wasn't sure that I wanted to do like a portrait as my final piece. So yeah, I looked into Dawn Clements. She watches like films, and basically as the film is going on will draw. The pieces kind of get a bit distorted, I guess. Wanted to explore that. Yeah, this was me doing that with my great nan's house, and then this is focusing on certain elements of the living room and just things that are really prominent in my memory. And these are all based on my memory. So yeah, this is me figuring out the composition inspired by Dawn Clements. I thought of doing a really long piece at first. It does change as I move forward. This is experimentation with oil paint. So this is inspired by Egon Schiele. I really like these paintings and just how I used the paint. Again, I kept it quite sort of thick. This is another artist that I looked into. I really liked the way that she made spaces kind of abstract and again using pattern, but I decided it wasn't for me and I wasn't really keen on how I did it. So this is a mop painting. I ended up deciding to do a triptych. Mop painting was just done with oil, inspired by Egon Schiele. I think I wasn't too happy with how it looked. It just felt really empty and didn't have a lot of texture. This is me figuring out compositions for the pieces, and then more thinking about the composition. So I decided to do a triptych, and I thought of basically the three paintings connecting to be one sort of piece, and each of them having a different colour and a sort of different subject or focus. This artist, again, I think was recommended to me from my teacher, and it's basically these blurred paintings and drawing memory and obviously nostalgia and just how memories are kind of abstract. Really liked this idea of abstract memories. So then I looked into memory and did a bunch of contextual research, and also went on the Tate website and looked at pieces that look into memory just to see if I could get any more inspiration for a final piece. This is another mop painting. This is like kind of distorted, but I don't think I was too happy with this. I wasn't happy with the colours, just again felt a bit empty. And moving on, this is more development of the composition. So I ended up deciding to not have pieces connect. It wasn't too necessary, but I looked into making the spaces more abstract to kind of show how it kind of looks in your mind as like a memory, and how memories are distorted and you feel like you can see a certain image or memory, but obviously it's not quite a clear picture. And then this is a mop painting, the first mop painting that I was actually happy with. So this one is inspired by this. So I did these all on my iPad before actually painting. I think I just didn't want to waste paint, and I just found it easier to kind of figure out the composition on iPad. And I did a final sort of painting. I was really into how I did the texture of like the sofa, and yeah, I was just really happy with this piece. With my mop paintings, I did an evaluation of each one, talking about my process, talking about what I liked about it. So that could be composition, tone, colours, the use of the paint, talking about what went well and what didn't. This is another mop painting. I wasn't as happy with this one, mainly just because of the shape of the figure, but it's okay. And then this is me just talking about making my final pieces. So these were the kind of mock-up images that I stuck with and decided to do for my final piece. I talked about really focusing on Egon Schiele. His style really influenced me for the final piece. I really liked the texture of the oil paint and the use of colour. And this is documenting painting one of the pieces. I'm also talking about the influence of this artist, which I looked into on this memory research page. So I really liked how I blocked out figures, and I thought that that could suggest losing a memory of someone. Page I talk about the start of this project and how I kind of narrowed it down, and how I kind of narrowed down what I wanted to do, what mediums I wanted to use, what artists influenced me the most. At the time of making my final pieces, I had some extra time just because I finished my paintings really quickly and I wanted to do something else. So I did this little portrait, again inspired by Egon Schiele and those experiments that I did, and I really like this. I really like the texture and how I use the paint. So yeah, that went along with the triptych. So this was one of the pieces, I think the one that I liked the most. This was the first one I painted, and yeah, I really liked the texture of it. Comparing to the mop paintings, I really like how this looks. You can kind of see the thickness of the paint, and yeah, I really like this piece. And then I'll show another one. I was also really happy with this one, which I did second. I feel like the third one that I did, I wasn't as happy with it as these two, but yeah, I really like these paintings and I loved the thickness of the paint and the texture, and yeah, in the end I got a B. So that is my whole A-level art coursework. If this video was helpful, please like and subscribe. I also have my exam sketchbooks which I could go through if that would be helpful as well. I think I might do that nearer the time to when people will be doing the A-level art exam stuff. And I also have my graphics A-level books which I could go through.